The markets this morning, well, specifically Tesla this morning was in the red all morning in the pre-market, but then started creeping up after the markets opened and now is in decently strong 1% up territory or so. So maybe the investing community is beginning to like the idea that Tesla 100% completed its FSD roadmap for September. That bodes well for 1010. So as the FOMO builds for 1010, that may be what we're looking at. So we're just within inches, within just a couple of bucks of hitting 265. And the 230, I mean, the 300 crowd has to be licking its chops right now, thinking that Randy will be wrong again and it won't be 265. Maybe it'll be 285 or 300. I guess we'll all accept any of those numbers as long as it keeps going up after that. All right. So from Dirty Tesla this morning, he says, my Cybertruck is currently low. That was last night. My Cybertruck is currently downloading FSD 12.5.5, which includes end-to-end on highway. Then this morning, he reports, well, happy to say, end-to-end highway FSD on the Cybertruck seems to be working well. No weird dips in speed, keeps up with traffic nicely. Lane changes are natural. Omar at Whole Mars also reported that the build is solid, although he feels it could use some tuning. He mentions that in his case, he's not seeing the speed always be what he'd like it to be. And this seems to be kind of one of the major issues that's still impacting most or much of the commentary that's out there. So I understand there's some new stuff coming. I forget what it's called exactly, speed tuning or something like that. Anyway, there's something coming on this 5.5, which might be going to improve it. Okay, so Tesla Bull says this morning, he says, look, when I was enjoying my second cup of coffee, I noticed the headline, Actual Smart Summon Arrives. And even before watching the video, it struck me like a hammer blow. Elon Musk and Tesla have pulled off a trick often used by magicians. They have shown us one thing while doing something very different. Tesla isn't demonstrating their assisted smart summon. They're practically demonstrating full self-driving capability in arguably the most challenging of environments. Costco and Walmart parking lots are more challenging for artificial intelligence to navigate than a highway, with vehicles following predictable patterns. So an idea that did occur to my pea brain, a couple of weeks ago as I was watching the very first ASS videos is it's basically with nobody in the vehicle, we're talking about level 5, well, level 4. Anyway, we're talking about unsupervised full self-driving, aren't we? AJ says this morning. He says, look, massive 2024 outlook cut at Stellantis, the world's third largest automaker by revenue. Stellantis expects 2024 cash burn of 5 to 10 billion euros. Now, this comes after Mercedes, BMW, and VW Group all cut their 2024 guidance. And along that with major suppliers, VW Group, of course, the second largest car manufacturer in the world, and they've definitely cut their guidance. And AJ did a big study on them saying he thinks they're in real trouble. Toyota continues to do okay. Their numbers are way down, substantially down from where they were, but profit cash flow still seems to be okay. He says, here's the key change from Stellantis, adjusted operating margin from double digits to just 5.5 to 7%. That's operating margins, okay? And then free cash flow from positive to negative, as we just mentioned a minute ago. He says this is a cut of epic proportions. And then there are rumors all over the place right now that Stellantis will be laying off 50% of its United States workforce. Also from AJ, he says he says he's worried that the global auto mayhem combined with the retail rush into the 1010 sets us up for a temporary significant pullback. He says his thinking goes as follows. Retail buying into 1010 is maxed out. No dry powder left. Well, apparently this morning, there's at least a little bit left. Number two, now going by 1010, when we hit actual 1010, maybe there will be a limitation on how much dry powder out there. Number two, he says traders and algos using their algorithms may deploy the typical buy the rumor, sell the news approach. We know about Tesla is a very specifically going into the event, very strong, usually uptick, although the last time it didn't work that way. The last earnings report didn't work that way. But now, right after, you get this sell-off, and other people don't talk about it. I talk about it a week later. That sell-off has usually completely reversed and gone positive. Number three, the significant negative market reaction upon recent profit warning announcements demonstrates that this wasn't fully or mostly priced in. Number four, I don't think that's the end of it. I believe there are further profit warnings incoming. Five, in addition to the profit warnings, there will be the announcements of one-off restructuring charges. Really? He hasn't mentioned that before. Six, third quarter and fourth quarter earnings will be down year over year, creating negative auto undercurrent. Okay, Tesla's major recent rally leaves the stock exposed, absent an imminent launching of ride-hailing service following the 1010. That's what I'm counting on. I'm counting on that the robotaxi service will be announced. The date will be announced, whether that's 10/11, 11/1, 12/1, 1/1, but there will be a date specific when supervised robotaxi will begin, or if he's confident enough, if Elon and the staff and his folks are confident enough, they might give us a date for robotaxi to begin unsupervised. Maybe that'll be 1/1 because they just have 100% confidence. That would be crazy. May not be received that well, but we'll see. Next significant touch point, says AJ, is tomorrow when Tesla reports the deliveries. Well, tomorrow, actually Tuesday, we get I've been making this mistake too, so I don't knock AJ for this one. Tomorrow we get, of course, China, late tonight, early tomorrow, we get China deliveries. And then on Wednesday, we get the deliveries 2 days from now. He says the key number here will be energy storage deployments because that was impacted. That was a big impact on the second quarter earnings. This is Randy Kirk. If you haven't figured that out, this is where you hit the like button. No. I mean, actually. No, not, oh, Randy, it's so much work to reach up and touch that little like button. No, actually do it. Come on now. And then have you ever subscribed? If you haven't subscribed, that would be cool. And then once you subscribe, you can do the notify button, and that'll let you know because later this morning we will have Brian White on. Of course, we'll have Brian White on, and I've got a doozy set up for that one. And then Larry will be on later this evening. Okay, the doozy that we've got coming on with Brian White will be a group. It'll be Brian Wong. It'll be Bradford Ferguson. That'll come out around 11 o'clock, something like that. And maybe it'll be later than that, more like noon, 12:30, something like that, California time. We're going to be talking about what the heck is going on in Shanghai. A little bit of a shocker here. So we're bringing in a gang of people to talk about it. All right. So, and then Larry will come on tonight. He might have gotten his FSD on his Cybertruck. That'll be fun. But even if not, he and I are going to talk margins. We're going to talk a lot of stuff and hopefully the good news of the stock finishing in the green today. Kobesi says this is huge. He says the China Shanghai Composite Index soared 8% on Friday alone. This puts the index over 20% in 5 days, more than double the average S&P 500 annual return. This would be like the S&P going from 5,000 to 6,000 in 1 week. Totally unprecedented. He says, meanwhile, the Beijing 50 index, similar to the Dow Jones Industrial Average, soared 23% in that single day. This marks the biggest daily gain in history for that index, 23%. Just days ago, China was concerned about deflation levels that were worse than 2008. What happened? Well, it all started last week when China flooded hundreds of billions of dollars of stimulus into their system. Just by cutting the bank reserve requirement by 50 basis points, over 140 billion of liquidity was added to the system. China signaled that much more stimulus is coming. Today, China announced it bought a whopping, this is today, maybe today, bought a whopping $28.5 billion worth of bonds from dealers in September. China's finance ministry also reopened 6 ultra-long special sovereign bonds, which is what Trump has been recommending, that we do sovereign bonds in the United States, something we've never done. He says pandemic-like stimulus is being rolled out on a daily basis. In May, we saw the below headline as China's ETF saw massive outflows. But today, China's ETF market hit a record 3 trillion yuan. Lots of inflow going into ETFs. Even U.S. markets are hitting new records on the China stimulus. Well, okay, since he said that, let's check the markets and see what's happening. I think he's going to be wrong about today anyway. So the Dow is down 118, and I believe that is probably driven partially at least by all these all the negative news on auto. So Stellantis was down heavily, of course, on the news. Last time I checked, it was down like 15%, 15%. And Ford and General Motors are down as well. The NASDAQ is now down 38.62, S&P down 10. Tesla now is only up 8 cents. It was up $3. It has now down a penny. So it is now joining the losers on the day, at least for the moment. Apple, which was up about $4, is now up only 268. So everything is down and to the right over the last few minutes. Don't know why. The Fed chairman isn't speaking till later, so that's not it. Okay, so but anyway, a big downturn. Also, Cathie Woods are largely up, but they are also getting some of the same downturn that seems to be happening across all markets. Now, the Dow actually has flattened out, but the NASDAQ is the one that is going down, taking with it all the Magnificent Seven. So Mag 7, all in negative territory at this point, except for Apple, which is up a little bit. Tesla still holding very close to even. Let's look at the percentages here. We've got Dow down 0.26, I'm sorry. NASDAQ down 0.23 and S&P down 0.18. Tesla down 0.02. All right, let's go see what's happening with the bonds, and we'll check back on Tesla in a minute. The bonds right now, okay, they continue up this morning. So you've got the 10-year up 1.1 at 3.76. I'm okay with 3.76. But the 2-year is up 3.7 basis points at 3.60. It's still in the right direction, of course, but going in the wrong, going in the wrong direction. And then the 3-month up 3 basis points, and the 2-month up just 1 basis point. So a little bit of contraction on the 2-month in the right direction, but not much, and the wrong direction on the 3-month. So interesting in the bonds this morning, but activity is in a limited range right now. So we'll see what happens as the day progresses. Oil is down a little bit this morning, both Brent and Texas Intermediate. The split between the two is okay, still about $3.7. So all the activity in the Middle East not terribly, apparently not affecting Brent that much. So you got Texas Intermediate, $67.98. You got Brent just barely over 70, well, 71.64. Natural gas up this morning, 1.1%, 2.934, really close to $3. I did a big, long analysis of gas. I asked Grok. There are a lot of things that impact natural gas that you have to take into consideration. We've got the weather, obviously being number one, probably, but usually that's seasonal. But you know what I mean? It's usually going into winter, going into summer, as they're predicting what those markets are going to, what it's going to look like during those two seasons. So going into the fall, I mean, we just started fall right now. We're not nowhere close to winter yet. That doesn't seem to be what's going on. There's a lot, as I've talked about many times before, there's a lot of places where oil and natural gas can switch out, and you can use one or the other depending on which is higher or lower. But that would seem to suggest, I mean, with oil dropping down to recent lows, you'd think that natural gas would also have to be competing, but instead it's going the other way. It's very, very confusing. Anyway, okay, gold down $16.40 to 2,651. So backing off a very substantial amount from being over 2,700 just a few days ago. Silver down 1.81% this morning, 31.23. Copper down 2% this morning at 4.5. Did a deep dive into commodities the other day as well. Commodities had actually been having a pretty good rally during September. We'll see if that continues. Then we've got the euro the dollar is down against the euro, 0.14, up against the yen, 0.53. And then the Bitcoin dropping again, like a stone, like a rock. Down 2,171 at 63,715. And there you go. That is the list. Let's go. I've got a little quick, interesting tidbit for you here at the end, but let me go back and look at Tesla again. Yep, still down just a tad, going kind of back to where it was pre-market, just slightly underwater. All right, let me go ahead and give you this tidbit. We've got Mario Nawfal doing a quick note on suicidal empathy. The balance must be restored. Now, this comes from 𝐑𝐚𝐧𝐝𝐲, however he pronounces his name, 𝐑𝐚𝐧𝐝𝐲, maybe, who Elon is a big fan of. I definitely follow him. I'm not always 100% in agreement, but he says uncontrolled empathy can cloud judgment and enable harmful ideologies. When I was raising my kids, there was a bunch of articles and books being written about helicopter parents who didn't want their kids to have any pain, to have any hurt, to go through any trauma. And now we're seeing the results of that as children are in therapy all the time. It's like the slightest thing is to not just go to the doctor, not just go to the dentist, but we go into therapy to solve even the smallest little problem going on in their lives. 𝐑𝐚𝐧𝐝𝐲 says suicidal empathy or prioritizing emotions over facts undermines rational decision-making. Examples include defending destructive behaviors in the name of compassion. This is a big problem with our criminals and our prison population in the United States. We just have we defend their destructive behavior because we're like, oh, but they had a rough upbringing. Number two, supporting policies without considering their long-term impact. Oh, we have to helicopter in and do this and solve this right now without thinking about whether that is the right thing to do on the long term, and then ignoring the facts to avoid offending people, safe spaces and people. Anyway, you get the point. We need a balance between empathy and rational thinking. Otherwise, it's a parasitic problem. It's something where we are self-destructive in the process. All right. If you sat there and you said, oh, I'm not going to push the like button, Randy, now's the time. Go ahead and do it now. Anyway, and then Patreon. We need more Patreon people. I think the entire month of September, I've only had 2 folks sign up for Patreon and 1 person buy some Cybertrucks, but we're getting into season. So starting around November 1, I'll be talking to you about Cybertrucks probably every single time we meet. All right. That's all I got for you. Oh, should we do it one more time just in case? I mean, I took a little time there. It'd be fun to go back one more time. Nope, Tesla's still negative, but flat negative, just barely underwater right now. But I told you the other day, I'm not terribly sad about this. If it stays around 260, 265 for the next week, I think that would be very, very appropriate going into, based on AJ's statement just a minute ago. We've run up. We're right now about 80% above the low in just 6 months ago, April 22nd, I think it was. All right, that's all I got. Let's say goodbye for now. Check back later on that Brian White deal. It's going to be amazing.